Then came the Mosque of Suleiman the Magnificent, arguably the best mosque in Istanbul. Known as the Magnificent by his enemies and Qanuni, or the lawgiver, by his subjects, for streamlining the law, making it more Islamic and merciful compared to his predecessor. He was the great-grandson of Mehmed the Conqueror and ruled longer than any other Ottoman Sultan at 46 years. Here is his grave, surrounded by his family. Many consider him to be the greatest Ottoman Sultan, and his reign is considered the peak of Ottoman civilization, in particular the peak of its cultural development. Mimar Sinan, for example, the greatest architect of Ottoman history, got much of his patronage from Sultan Suleiman. Some of his major battles included the Battle of Mohacs, and he was also known for, controversially, marrying his favourite consort, Roxolana, who in turn exerted much influence over palace politics, which comes with its own story. I need to restrain myself when talking about the lives of the sultans and Ottoman history in general, otherwise we'll be here all day. There's just so much interesting history, so much to talk about, which we can't fit in here. Check out my cinematography skills here. Can't really see the mosque, can't really see it. Oh, there it is. Bask in its magnificence. The mosque is a stunning piece of architecture. Honestly, your brain can't even comprehend or process how big it is, how far away the dome is when you're inside or just standing out of it. People at the time would have never even got the experience of seeing it in all its glory, because the images you see online, of course, they can only be gotten by plane or drone or something. At ground level, it's simply too big to take it all in. They had free literature for you to take away as well, as you can see. It's worth saying a few words about the architect Sinan. I kept seeing his name come up when doing research on Ottoman buildings, and he's a very interesting character in his own right, having a military career as a Janissary commander before becoming an architect. In short, he was the grand architect of the Ottoman Empire under Suleiman the Magnificent, Selim II and Murad III. Almost every mosque you see in Istanbul is based on his designs. He did structural work on the Hagia Sophia, after which it was never majorly affected by earthquakes. He did works on the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. He's built bridges and dams all over Europe which still exist today, but he's most famous for his mosques, in particular three. The Shahzadeh Mosque, built on the orders of Suleiman the Magnificent after his son died to commemorate him. A mosque that would be considered a masterpiece by any other architect, but one that Mimar Sinan considered an apprenticeship work. The next best is usually considered to be the Suleymaniye Mosque, also his most famous work, completed when he was about 70 and considered the best of what he called his qualification stage. And his masterpiece, finished in his 80s, is the Selimiye Mosque. Not the one in Istanbul though, the one in Erdin, which we never saw as it was very far away, 2.5 hours drive or something. He had many maverick ideas, like using ostrich eggs in the mosques to keep insects away. It was on my list, but we almost missed the grave of Mimar Sinan, which we caught as we left. There was no way to go all the way inside, but this is his tomb here, designed by the man himself, who went for a more simple design compared to the more grand tombs he designed for others. The water supply is free for anyone to use, the idea being that the religious reward will go back all the way to Sinan, even after his passing. So it was sundown now, and believe it or not, our next destination was the Suleymaniye Mosque again, because my wife was insistent on seeing it during the night. So here we are again, the Suleymaniye Mosque at night. This was our evening dinner from a restaurant right next to the mosque. You can't really tell from my camera, but Istanbul looks really great at night, the lights and everything. And the mosque really comes into its own as an imperial structure at night, built on one of the 7 hills of Istanbul and visible from most of the city. So this is the Fatih Mosque, named after Muhammad al-Fatih, the conqueror of Constantinople, and my personal favourite of the sultans. This is his grave. There is an aura of respect and dignity commanded by it, and the tomb is beautifully maintained. This is where the Sultan's wife is buried. The mosque itself is really nice, a nice open space, wonderful window work which was complemented by the natural lighting and a Baroque feel about it. But it's important to note it is not the original design. I was thinking as I was looking at it that it looked inspired by the works of Mimar Sinan, but Sinan came along later, so what gives? But there was an information plaque that said the original mosque was damaged and has not survived. So what we see today was basically built in the late 18th century. So it's still old, I guess. It still has that historical significance that I craved during my trip. Next was a trip to the Selimiye Mosque, the Mosque of Selim the Resolute or Selim the Grim. He was the grandson of Al-Fatih, a man who only ruled for 8 years or so, but in that time tripled the size of the empire, and he was the first to control the two holy cities of Makkah and Medina, effectively becoming the first Ottoman caliph. This is his tomb. His story and life is fascinating, and along with Mehmed II and Suleiman the Magnificent, completes the trio who most consider the best 3 Ottoman sultans. Again, I'm pretty sure this is not the original mosque design. The grave of Sultan Abdul Majid is here also, the father of Abdul Hamid II. You couldn't get in, but you can see it from the window. Each mosque in Istanbul had its own atmosphere and feel. With Yavuz Sultan Selim Khan or Selim the Resolute, the culture in the mosque was reflective of his title. The men looked deeply religious, many kitted out in full religious garments, thobes and such, and the women were wearing burqas and there was complete segregation. We were very far from the tourist area now, and it was really cool how every area of the city had its own feel. There was some kind of function or program that was going on to start here, which I think accounts for the amount of people that were there.